Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you give us and really dig into them for the most interesting bits.
That's the plan. And today, we're tackling the 1995 film Strange Days.
A fascinating choice. We're basically going to unpack this one, figure out why a film that, well, bombed at the box office is now seen as this cult classic.
Exactly, and explore the ideas it was playing with, which feel surprisingly relevant today.
Okay, so let's set the scene first. It plunges us right into Los Angeles. What was it, December 30th, 1999?
Yeah, the day before New Year's Eve, 1999. And it's not the party atmosphere you might expect. The city feels, well, wired.
Wired is a good word. Social unrest, racial tensions are sky high, and there's that whole Y2K anxiety thing hanging over everything.
It feels like a powder keg, doesn't it? Ready to go off.
Totally. And into this mix, the film introduces this core concept, squid recordings.
Right, squid record. This technology lets you record experiences directly from someone's brain, sensations and all, and then someone else can play it back and feel exactly what they felt.
Wild stuff. So you can literally relive someone else's memories.
Or just their experiences. Anything, really.
And our way into this world is a Lenny Nero, played by Ralph Fiennes, who gives him this sleazy charm, maybe.
Definitely sleazy.
Yeah.
But compelling. He's an ex-cop, now making a living selling these kawaii clips on the black market.
Selling slices of life, often the illegal or intimate kind, right?
Pretty much. He deals in other people's sensations.
Okay, so what's the hook? What really gets the plot moving?
Well, Lenny gets his hands on a disc, but this isn't like the others. It's a recording of a brutal murder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the terrifying part, you see it all happen from the killer's point of view. You are the killer experiencing it.
That's incredibly dark.
It is. And it's not just some random snuff clip. It's clearly evidence of something much bigger, something rotten.
So this disc basically drags Lenny out of his, morally gray business and into something way more dangerous.
Exactly. It pulls him right into this messy conspiracy. We're talking police corruption, cover-ups.
And it ties into the racial violence simmering in the city too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's a central thread. But luckily for Lenny, he's not entirely on his own.
Right. There's Mace, Angela Bassett.
Who is just phenomenal. Mace is his friend. She drives this armored limo. She's his protector. And maybe the only person with a real moral compass in his life.
She sounds like the anchor he desperately needs.
Totally. And it's interesting how the film blends all these genres together. You've got the sci-fi squiddy tech.
The Tech-Noir vibe, definitely. That gloomy, morally ambiguous feel.
Right, like sci-fi meets old film noir. Plus, it's a straight-up thriller, loads of tension.
And you mentioned cyberpunk undertones, too. That whole high-tech, low-life decay thing.
Yeah, it's got all that swirled together.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission here, like we said, is to figure out why this box office flop became a cult favorite and why its themes hit so hard now.
Okay, let's start with that setup. December 30th, 1999. That date feels really deliberate.
Oh, for sure. It's not just wallpaper. That feeling of chaos, the end of something, the unknown future, it permeates everything.
The whole world feels like it's holding its breath.
Exactly. And the squid tech almost feeds into that anxiety, like people are escaping into these recorded experiences because the present, the future, is too much.
That makes sense. And the squid itself, the idea of plugging into someone else's head, it goes beyond just being a cool gadget, doesn't it?
Oh, massively. It immediately makes you question reality, memory, what's authentic. And the voyeurism aspect is huge.
Are you getting closer to people by feeling what they feel or just becoming numb?
That's the question, isn't it? The film really digs into that seductive pull of experiencing things secondhand, observing versus participating.
And Lenny's the guy enabling it all, selling these trips, often pretty dark ones.
He is. He's profiting from people wanting to detach from their own lives, in a way.
Until that murder disc lands on his doorstep. Bang! Reality check.
A brutal one. It completely shatters his, routine of dealing in these controlled, simulated thrills.
How does it change things for him immediately?
It forces him to deal with real violence, real consequences.
No.
This isn't escapism anymore. And the fact that it points straight towards the cops, towards racial violence.
The stakes just go through the roof.
Instantly. It's not about getting kicks anymore. It's about uncovering this really ugly systemic rot.
And that's where Mace really steps up.
Yeah, she's the one pushing him to face it. She sees the danger he's in, not just from the conspiracy, but from his own, obsession with the past.
Right, his addiction to squid.
Exactly.
Oh.
She's grounded. She has this fierce sense of justice. While Lenny's often lost in his own head or someone else's, Mace is the one trying to figure things out, trying to act.
Okay, let's shift to the themes. Someone called it Black Mirror before Black Mirror. That feels pretty accurate looking back.
It really does, doesn't it? That core idea technology, amplifying our worst impulses, messing with our sense of reality, it feels so incredibly now.
You can totally see echoes in specific Black Mirror episodes, the ones about memory tech or VR ethics.
Yeah, it was way ahead of the curve on that. The film seemed to see this coming, this almost compulsive desire we have now to not just watch, but be inside other people's experiences.
Squid is the extreme version, but yeah, you see hints of it everywhere online. Curated lives, virtual identities.
The constant filtering of experience through tech.
Yeah.
What does that do to us long term? The film was asking that back in '95.
And Lenny's personal addiction, reliving memories of his ex, Faith, over and over via Squid, it's shown as really self-destructive.
It is. It's not just about missing her. It's about him using this idealized past to avoid dealing with his present mess.
So nostalgia as a trap.
Exactly. The film argues that constantly looking back stops you from moving forward, from growing. It's a really potent warning against romanticizing what's gone and ignoring what's right in front of you. Escapism, basically.
Maybe the theme that lands hardest now is the police brutality and racial violence aspect. Yeah. It's unsettling how much it feels like it predicted today's conversations.
It really is eerie. The film is absolutely unflinching about showing systemic racism in the LAPD, the cover-ups, the anger it generates.
It's not just a plot point. It feels like the film's central critique.
Absolutely. And it shows the frustration and desperation of the communities affected with this raw energy that it feels incredibly familiar now, maybe too familiar.
Do you think that uncomfortable realism is why it resonates so much today? People are maybe more prepared to see it?
I think that's a huge part of it, yeah. Audiences today are definitely more attuned to these specific issues.
And alongside those big social themes, there are these personal anxieties, too. Lenny's whole thing with Faith, that unrequited, messy relationship.
Yeah, and the general millennial anxiety, that ticking clock toward the year 2000, the fear of the unknown, it all weaves together.
His obsession with Faith fuels his squatted use, right? Technology as a way to cope with emotional pain or maybe wallow in it.
Definitely. And the Y2K backdrop just ramps up all those personal fears. Everyone seems on edge, collectively uneasy about what's coming.
So, underneath the sci-fi and the thriller plot, it's really asking fundamental stuff about being human, isn't it? Memory, morality, identity.
Especially in a world where tech lets you literally jump into someone else's skin. What's real? What matters?
In a world drowning in surveillance where maybe real connection feels harder to find.
Exactly. Strange Days pushes you to think about authentic experience, the ethics of blurring reality, and the need to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves and about society.
Let's talk performances. Ralph Fiennes as Lenny. He's compelling, but he's not exactly likable, is he?
No way. He's sleazy, desperate, kind of pathetic sometimes, clinging to the past. But Fiennes brings this vulnerability. A weird charisma.
Yeah, you feel his longing, even when he's making terrible choices.
Right. You see the desperation underneath the hustle.
And Angela Bassett as Mace. Wow, you said she's the soul of the film.
She absolutely is. An incredible performance. Mace is strong, principled, fiercely loyal, capable, just a force.
Such a contrast to Lenny.
Completely. And think about it, a black woman as the action lead, the moral core, in a big sci-fi thriller in the mid-90s. That was rare. Groundbreaking, even.
Yeah, she has real agency and depth. It's easy to see why it's considered one of her best roles.
Definitely. She anchors the whole thing emotionally.
And Juliette Lewis as Faith, the ex, she has that femme fatale thing going on.
But with more complexity, I think. She's alluring, sure, but also seems damaged, trapped. Lewis really sells that.
Their relationship feels toxic, but also real. Complicated.
Yeah, she's not just there to motivate Lenny. She feels like a person caught up in it all.
Even the supporting guys, Tom Sizemore, Michael Wincott.
They add so much texture to that underworld Lenny moves through. Sizemore is the shady friend you can't quite trust.
And Wincott is just dripping menace, perfect for the corrupt power broker role.
Yeah, even smaller roles feel lived in, adding to that feeling of a city on the verge.
We have to talk about Kathryn Bigelow's direction. It's so kinetic.
Absolutely crucial. Intense is the word. That opening robbery scene.
The first-person squid view.
Yeah. That whole long, unbroken shot, it's breathtaking. Even now, it feels revolutionary.
It just throws you right in. Dizzying, sets the tone immediately.
Technically brilliant, and it instantly sells you on the visceral power of squid.
And the look of the film generally.
Yeah.
You called it grimy, neon-lit, tactile.
It really is. You can almost feel the grit and the heat of that LA. Feels lived in, decaying.
It's a very specific, immersive atmosphere. Like the city itself is sick.
Yeah, the production design, the lighting, it all contributes to this feeling of oppression, of things falling apart. It's a believable near-future dystopia.
And she uses a lot of handheld camera, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the action scenes.
Yes, especially the riots, the chases.
Yeah.
Put you right in the middle of the chaos.
Makes it feel immediate, dangerous, uncontrolled.
Exactly. Heightens the tension, the sense that everything's spiraling.
You made that comparison, Blade Runner meets Heat. Can you unpack that a bit?
Well, you've got the Blade Runner-style cyberpunk aesthetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The dark, rainy, tech-heavy city, the social decay.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
But then the action, the way the violence feels so grounded and realistic, the street-level grit, that feels very Michael Mann, very Heat.
Ah, right. So it's that blend of futuristic setting with intense, realistic action.
Exactly. It gives the film this unique visual signature. Futuristic, but somehow immediate and real.
The sound is huge, too. Graham Revell's score.
Oh, the score's fantastic. It captures that mood perfectly. Those eerie synths for the tech anxiety.
But then moments of real emotion, too.
Yeah, these big emotional swells that hit the human drama underneath it all. It keeps you on edge. That score creates this constant unease.
And the soundtrack itself is such a 90s snapshot. Industrial alt-rock.
Perfect fit, right?
Yeah.
Sunken Nancy, tricky, deep forest.
Yeah.
Artists exploring similar themes of alienation, tech, unrest.
And Juliette Lewis singing PJ Harvey.
Adds another layer, doesn't it? That raw, edgy energy fits Faith's character so well.
How does the sound work in the squeed scenes specifically?
It's often overwhelming, deliberately disorienting. It mimics that sensory overload of being in someone else's head.
So it's not just visual, it's a full auditory assault, too.
Definitely. It makes those experiences feel truly immersive, sometimes disturbingly so. It gets under your skin, like that review said.
Okay, key moments. The squid POV stuff is obviously central. That snuff playback you mentioned.
Yeah, that's a tough watch. Intentionally shocking. It forces you to confront the ethics of consuming violence. How tech could enable the absolute worst impulses.
A scene that definitely sticks with you.
For sure. Raises questions we're still grappling with regarding online content and VR.
But then there are moments of release, like Mace taking down those dirty cops.
Oh, yeah. That scene is pure catharsis. After all the tension and injustice, seeing her just unleash, it's incredibly satisfying.
A real fist pump moment, fighting back.
Totally. A powerful moment of resistance against corruption.
And the climax, New Year's Eve, the countdown in that volatile city.
The tension there is almost unbearable, isn't it? The whole city feels like it could either explode or maybe find some kind of renewal.
It brings everything together, that hope and despair side by side.
A perfect image for the film's themes, the future hanging in the balance.
There's that quote, too. Memories were meant to fade. They're designed that way for a reason.
That line just resonates, doesn't it? Speaks right to Lenny's problem, and maybe ours too.
The danger of getting stuck in the past?
Yeah. It suggests that letting go, forgetting even, is part of healing, part of being able to live in the present.
It's so striking how much of this felt ahead of its time in '95. Why do you think it bombed then but feels so vital now?
I think, like one of the reviews suggested, maybe it was just too much for audiences back then. Too real, too weird.
Too raw in its look at tech's dark side, police brutality, racial tension.
Possibly. Maybe too woke for its time, as the review put it. It didn't flinch, and perhaps people weren't ready for that level of intensity or that kind of critique.
So its prescience actually worked against it initially.
It seems that way, which is ironic because that very prescience is why it has such a strong following now. It feels like it saw our present coming.
So wrapping it up, what's the final take on Strange Days?
I mean, it's got to be seen as this criminally underrated, visionary sci-fi noir. It's messy, it's challenging, but it's incredibly ambitious and bold.
A film that really rewards a deep dive.
Absolutely. Its style, its themes, they hold up remarkably well. A compelling, important film experience.
Okay, so summing up our deep dive, Strange Days, clearly way ahead of the curve. It's this intense mix, sci-fi, thriller, social commentary, tackling big ideas about technology, memory, addiction, social unrest.
All wrapped up in this unique, sweaty, gritty visual and sound style.
A techno-noir masterpiece, you called it. Sweaty, savage, soulful.
I stand by that. It feels like it looked into a very murky crystal ball in 1995 and saw aspects of our own strange days.
All right, so here's something for you, the listener, to chew on. Think about the immersive tech we have now, the stuff that's coming. How does our own relationship with memory, with shared experience, maybe even with empathy, how does it echo what Strange Days was exploring?
Yeah, what are the potential squid technologies looming in our future? What dangers might they bring? But also, could they offer any insights?
Definitely food for thought as we navigate, well, right now.